My son begged me to never take off the watch he bought me. And 5 months later, I was vomiting into my sink with bald spots spreading across my scalp like bruises. My name is Colette Mercer. I am 62 years old, and I work part-time shelving books at the downtown public library in Savannah. I used to be the kind of woman who believed love was simple. You raised your kids right, you showed up, you sacrificed, and in return they stayed human. That belief died slowly, the same way my body did. One miserable morning at a time. It started on a bright Sunday in late March, the day my coworkers insisted on throwing me a small birthday lunch in the library break room. I had planned to go home afterward and sit in silence with my tea, because birthdays after my husband passed felt like standing in a room that had lost its oxygen. But Rhodes showed up. My son had been a ghost for most of the past year. Always busy, always closing some deal, always promising to call back. So when I saw him leaning against the break room doorway with that movie star smile, holding a little wrapped box, I felt something warm bloom in my chest that I did not trust. "Mom," he said, like he was practicing the word. My fingers shook when I took the box. I remember thinking he looked thinner than usual, and his eyes were too bright, like he had not slept in days. Still, he was there. That mattered. Inside was a watch. Silver case, soft brown leather band, the kind that looked expensive without screaming for attention. The face was clean, classic, almost old-fashioned. It made me think of my husband's hands, the way he used to wind his own watch every morning before work. Rhodes lifted my wrist gently and fastened it himself. His touch lingered longer than it needed to. "Wear it for me, Mom," he whispered. "Every day." I laughed softly. "It is beautiful, of course I will." "No," he said, and his smile tightened at the corners. "Not just sometimes. Every day, do not take it off. Promise me." It was such a strange request that my first instinct was to joke. "What? Are you worried I will forget you exist?" His eyes flicked over my face, searching. Then he leaned in and kissed my cheek. "Please, just promise." So I did. I promised like it was nothing. That night, I slept with the watch on. I showered with it on. I washed dishes with it on, careful to keep my wrist away from the stream. I even caught myself checking it the way you check a seatbelt, as if something bad would happen if it was not there. 1 week later, I woke up and threw up before I could even brush my teeth. At first, I blamed the stomach flu, library germs, bad takeout, getting older. I told myself all the boring explanations people cling to when they are afraid of the real one. But the nausea came back the next morning. And the next. By week 2, I could not keep coffee down. Coffee, my one comfort since widowhood. The smell alone made my stomach twist. By week 3, my jeans hung loose, and my coworkers started watching me the way people watch a candle that is melting too fast. Concern hidden behind polite smiles. Sela noticed first, because my daughter notices everything. She showed up at my apartment with grocery bags, and that tight line in her mouth she gets when she is trying not to panic. "Mom," she said, staring at my face, "you look gray. When did you last eat a real meal?" I tried to smile. "I am fine, just a weird bug." Sela reached for my wrist without thinking, like she wanted to feel my pulse, and her fingers hit the watch. She frowned. "New watch. Rhodes gave it to me, for my birthday." Something shifted in her eyes. Not suspicion yet, just a tiny, uneasy pause. That evening, Rhodes called. His voice was syrupy sweet. "How are you feeling, Mom?" "Sick still." "Any vomiting today? Headache? Tingling?" He asked it like a checklist. I remember looking at the ceiling, annoyed. "Why are you asking like a doctor?" "Because I care, Mom." He gave a soft laugh, then he lowered his voice like we were sharing a secret. "You are still wearing it, right?" "The watch, you mean?" "Yes, that. Are you wearing it?" I looked at my wrist. The silver case caught the light from my kitchen lamp. I had almost forgotten it was there because it had become part of me. "Of course," I said, "I promise." "Good," he murmured, and I heard relief in his breath. "Good." Sela heard the call from my couch. When I hung up, she said, "Why is he so focused on that watch?" "Because he is proud of it," I snapped, sharper than I meant. "It was expensive. He wants me to appreciate it." Sela did not argue, but she watched me for the rest of the night like she was counting my breaths. A month later, I had lost 19 pounds. My hair started coming out in the shower. Not a little shedding. Clumps. The first time I saw it tangled around the drain, I sat on the bathroom floor with wet hands and started crying like a child. I went to my primary doctor, then a gastroenterologist, then a neurologist. Blood work, scans, scopes. Normal, normal, normal. Each time I walked out with another bland reassurance. Rhodes would call within an hour. What did they test? What did they say? Any mention of toxins? any mention of poisoning. Poisoning, I repeated once, laughing because it sounded insane. Why would you even say that? He went quiet for half a second. Then he recovered. I just mean, sometimes people get exposed to stuff at work. Cleaning chemicals, mold, who knows? I am just worried. When I told him the tests were normal, his voice did not sound relieved. It sounded irritated, like the results had failed him. And always, he ended the call with the same question. You are still wearing it, right? I started lying sometimes, just to see what would happen. One morning I said, I took it off last night. It was itching. The silence on the line was immediate and heavy. You took it off, he said slowly, just for a few hours. Put it back on, Mom, please. His voice had changed. No warmth, no sweetness, just control. Why? I asked, my stomach rolling. Because it is my gift, and I want you to wear it. Is that so hard? That was the first moment I felt fear of my own child, and I hated myself for feeling it. Quick real-life pause. When I am editing these late at night, I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, back to the story. The day everything cracked open was humid and bright. The kind of afternoon where the air feels too thick to breathe. I had left a follow-up appointment early because the doctor said the word stress again. Like grief and stress could cause you to waste away and lose your hair. I drove without thinking. No destination, just movement. If I stayed in my apartment, I would start believing the doctors. I would start believing I was doing this to myself. I ended up downtown near a row of shops I had never noticed before. One narrow storefront caught my eye because the window was full of clocks. Old wooden ones, brass ones, tiny pocket watches lined up like soldiers. Something about it felt like my husband, like time, like the life I used to have. A small bell chimed when I stepped inside. The shop smelled like polished wood and metal. It was quiet except for soft ticking, like a room full of patient hearts. A man came from the back, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looked about 60, with kind eyes and a careful way of moving, like someone who had spent years working with delicate things. Afternoon, ma'am. I am Everett. I nodded, dizzy. I tried to pretend I was browsing, but my hands shook and my stomach clenched. Everett watched me for a moment, then his gaze dropped to my wrist. That is a fine piece, he said. My watch. My son gave it to me, I said, and my voice cracked. For my birthday. Everett stepped closer, and I saw his expression change in a way that made my skin go cold. His eyes sharpened, his face losing color. How long ago? He asked quietly. 5 months. He looked from the watch to my face, and it was like he could read every symptom written across my skin. Have you been sick? He asked. The question landed in my chest like a stone. Yes, I whispered. Every morning, I cannot eat. I have lost so much weight. Everett did not answer right away. He reached under the counter and pulled out a jeweler's loop, then held his hand out. May I, ma'am? Just for a moment. My wrist felt naked when I unclasped the strap. I did not realize how much I had gotten used to the weight until it was gone. Everett held the watch up to the light, turning it slowly. His fingers were steady, but his mouth tightened as he examined the casing. This is not factory, he muttered. I swallowed. What does that mean? He did not look at me. He moved to his workbench in the back and opened a small drawer of tools. I stepped closer, my legs weak. Everett chose a thin instrument and positioned it against the back of the watch with the care of a surgeon. Please, I said, suddenly desperate. What is going on? Everett's voice came out low. I need you to stay calm. Then he popped the back open. At first, I did not understand what I was seeing. Just a tiny hollow space where there should have been solid metal. Then my eyes focused, and my heart stopped. A small capsule, glassy and pale, was tucked inside like a secret tube. Everett's hands started to tremble. He looked up at me, his face gone completely white, and he grabbed my wrist like he was afraid I might put the watch back on without thinking. Take this off right now, he said. Do not ever wear it again. I stared at the capsule, at the hidden compartment, at the beautiful gift that had been sitting against my skin for 5 months. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Everett swallowed hard, and when he spoke again, his voice broke with urgency. Ma'am, he said, I need to show you what someone did to this watch, because it was built to make you sick. Everett slid the open watch beneath a small lamp on his workbench, and the light made the capsule gleam like a drop of trapped rain. I could not stop staring at it. My mind kept trying to protect me by insisting it was a battery, a fancy sensor, some harmless add-on for a luxury model. Anything except what his face was telling me. I whispered, that is not supposed to be there. No, ma'am, he said, it is not. His voice stayed gentle, but his hands were fast now, purposeful. He pulled on thin gloves, the kind you see in a science lab, then took a magnifying lens and angled it toward the inside of the casing. "This backplate has been modified," he said. "See the seam. Factory seals are clean. This is hand-cut. Whoever did it knew how to hide their work." My throat felt tight. "My son bought it from a jewelry store." Everett did not look up. "I am not saying your son did the cutting. I am saying someone did. And this capsule is not standard." I leaned closer, fighting dizziness, and the smell of polish and metal suddenly turned my stomach. I put a hand on the bench to steady myself. "What is it, Everett?" I asked, and my voice sounded small, like I was begging him not to say it. He exhaled slowly. "There are two ways this kind of thing is used: contact exposure and vapor exposure. If it is designed to release when it warms against skin, you would never see residue on your wrist. You would just get sick. Slowly, steadily, like your body is failing for no reason." My ears started ringing. That is exactly what happened. Everett reached for a tiny tool and touched it to the capsule, not breaking it, just checking its seal. His hands were still trembling. "I have seen this once before," he said quietly. "Not in a watch, in a pendant. A man wore it under his shirt. He lost weight, got weak, and his family thought he was giving up after his wife died. He almost died before someone realized the pendant was altered." A cold wave rolled through me. Did he live? Barely. Everett finally looked at me, and his eyes were full of something that felt like grief on my behalf. "Ma'am, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly, even if it is painful." I nodded, because I could not speak. "Do you have assets?" he asked. "Property, retirement, life insurance." My stomach dropped. "Yes, my house is paid off. My husband left me a policy. I have savings." "And do you have any reason to believe someone might benefit if you got very sick? Very fast?" I shook my head automatically. No, no one would. But my mind betrayed me with images I had tried to ignore. Rhodes asking about the value of my home last Christmas. Rhodes making a joke about how I needed to update my will. Rhodes suddenly showing up with that watch when he had barely returned my calls for months. Everett watched my face, and his expression hardened in quiet certainty. "You need to call the police," he said. The word police hit me like a slap. My chest tightened. "No, this is a misunderstanding. There has to be another explanation. Maybe it is some strange medical device. Maybe it is, I do not know, maybe it is meant to help me." Everett's mouth twitched in something like sadness. "No reputable manufacturer hides a capsule inside a casing like this. And no medical device is installed illegally in a watch back." I swallowed hard. My son would never harm me. Everett did not argue. He simply asked, "What did your doctors say when you told them your symptoms started after you began wearing this?" I blinked. "I never told them about the watch." His brows lifted slightly. "Why not?" "Because it is a watch," I said, and the words sounded foolish the moment they left my mouth. Because I did not want to sound paranoid. Because Rhodes kept acting like it was just a gift. Everett nodded once, as if that answered everything. "People like to hide harm under normal things," he said. "A gift, a compliment, a concern, it keeps the victim doubting herself." Victim. That word made my vision blur. My hands started shaking so violently that I had to grip the edge of the bench again. Everett stood, moved around me, and guided me to a chair beside his work table. "Sit, ma'am. You are pale." I sank into the chair. The room tilted. The ticking clocks on the wall sounded louder now, like they were counting down something I had failed to notice. I stared at my wrist, a faint line where the leather band had been. I suddenly realized my skin there had been slightly irritated for weeks, and I had blamed it on dry winter air. Everett poured water into a paper cup and held it out. I tried to drink, but my stomach clenched and I gagged. "Okay," he said, voice firm. "We do this step by step. First, you do not touch the capsule again. Second, we treat the watch like evidence. Third, you do not go home alone." I blinked at him. "I cannot just disappear. My daughter will worry." "Call her," he said. "Right now." My fingers felt numb as I pulled my phone from my purse. Seela answered on the second ring, voice tight with immediate fear. "Mom, where are you? I came by and your car was gone." I swallowed. "I am downtown, in a watch shop." "Seela, listen to me. Do not panic, but I need you to come here." "Mom, what is happening?" My eyes flicked to Everett. His face stayed steady, like an anchor. "Something is wrong with the watch," I said, and my voice cracked. "Everett thinks it has been altered. There is a capsule inside it." There was a pause on the line, and then Seela's voice went dangerously quiet. "I knew it. I knew there was something off. Is Rhodes with you?" "No, and do not call him, please, just come." I heard her breathing change, like she was already moving. "What is the address?" I told her. then ended the call before I could fall apart completely. Everett picked up the watch with gloved hands and placed it carefully into a small plastic bag, sealing it. He wrote the date and time on a label, then looked at me. "Do you want me to call the police from here?" he asked. "Or do you want to go in yourself?" My mouth went dry. "If I call the police, that means I am accusing Rhodes. You are reporting a modified object that appears to be harming you," he corrected softly. "The evidence will tell the rest." I stared at the bag. My mind kept flashing back to Rhodes fastening the strap, his fingers lingering, his voice begging. "Promise." I whispered. He checked on it every day. He asked if I was still wearing it. He got angry when I took it off. Everett's jaw tightened. "Then we do not waste time." He picked up his phone, spoke quietly to someone, and within minutes he was giving my name, my location, and explaining that he had found a concealed capsule inside a wristwatch that a customer had been wearing for months while suffering severe unexplained illness. Hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way I could not survive. I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to breathe. While we waited, Everett kept his voice calm. "Tell me about your son," he said. I opened my eyes. "Why?" "Because if someone is trying to harm you, we need to understand what they want," he said. "You do not have to defend him to me. Just tell me facts." Facts, I licked my lips. Rhodes used to be sweet. He used to call me just to talk about nothing. After his father died, he became hungry. That is the only word I have, hungry. He wanted more money, more success, more attention. He started flipping houses. He got involved with people I never met. He stopped coming by unless he needed something. Everett nodded. And lately he has been intense, like he is acting, bringing me soup, driving me to appointments, asking the same questions. I thought he was finally being a good son. My voice broke. I wanted to believe that so badly. Everett's gaze softened. "That is how this works," he said. "Harm wrapped in devotion. It keeps you grateful while you are being destroyed." A knock came at the front door. Everett glanced at the window, then went to unlock it. 2 officers stepped in, followed by a woman in plain clothes with a badge clipped to her belt. "Detective Walsh," she said, eyes scanning me quickly. "Ma'am, are you Colette Mercer?" I nodded, unable to stand. She moved closer, her voice steady. Everett called it in. "Can you tell me what happened in your own words?" I really tried. But as soon as I opened my mouth, everything crashed together. The vomiting, the hair in the drain, the doctor's puzzled faces. Rhodes on the phone, asking questions like he was monitoring a dying plant. I started crying, and I hated it. I hated feeling weak in front of strangers. Detective Walsh waited until I could speak again. Everett handed her the sealed bag. "I found this inside the watch," he said. "The casing was modified. This capsule was concealed." Walsh's expression tightened. "We are taking this to the lab immediately." She turned back to me. "Ma'am, do you feel safe going home today?" "No," I whispered, and it was the first honest answer I had given in months. "No, I do not." Her eyes sharpened. "Does the person who gave you the watch have access to your home?" "Yes, he has a key." Walsh nodded once. "Then we are not sending you back there alone. We are going to get you medical attention, and we are going to make sure you are somewhere safe tonight. Do you have someone you trust?" My throat tightened. My daughter. As if summoned, the front bell chimed and Seela rushed in, breathless, eyes wide. The moment she saw me in that chair, she froze, and her face crumpled with a mix of fury and heartbreak. "Mom," she whispered, and came to me like she was afraid I might vanish. I grabbed her hand with both of mine. "Seela, I am sorry. I am so sorry I did not listen to you." Her eyes flicked to the officers, then to Everett, then to the bag. She swallowed hard. "Is it true? Is there something inside it?" Everett nodded. "Yes." Seela's lips pressed together, and for a second I saw something raw and dangerous in my daughter. She looked like she wanted to hunt someone. Detective Walsh began asking questions. Seela answered some for me because my mind kept slipping. Yes, Rhodes had been calling constantly. Yes, he had insisted I wear it. Yes, he had gotten angry when I took it off. Yes, he knew about my policy. He had asked about it. Walsh wrote everything down, then said, "We need to go to the hospital. The doctors need to collect samples. Blood, hair, urine. We need to document your condition and test for toxins." Toxins? The word made my stomach heave. As we stood to leave, my phone buzzed in my purse. I did not have to look to know who it was. My body already knew his rhythm. Seela pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and her face went rigid. "Rhodes." My fingers tightened around Seela's hand. Detective Walsh noticed immediately. "Do not answer yet," she said. "Let it ring. We will decide together." The call stopped. Then, seconds later, it started again. My chest tightened until it hurt. He knows. Somehow he knows. Sela leaned close, whispering, "What do you want to do, Mom?" I stared at the vibrating phone like it was a snake. Detective Walsh met my eyes. If he is involved, he may try to control the situation the moment he senses you slipping away. We can use the call to learn what he knows, but only if you can keep your voice steady. I swallowed, forcing air into my lungs. My hands shook. Sela's gaze locked on mine, fierce and protective. "I will be right here," she said. "You are not alone." The phone buzzed again, and this time I nodded. I took it from Sela's hand, lifted it to my ear, and answered in the weakest voice I could manage. "Rhodes," I said, and my heart slammed against my ribs. "What is it?" His voice came through the speaker too bright, too controlled. "Mom, where are you? I stopped by your place and you were not there. Are you okay?" I let a breath tremble on purpose. I am not feeling well. I went out for air." A pause, then softer, coaxing. "You sound bad. You should not be driving. Tell me where you are and I will come get you." Detective Walsh leaned closer, her expression warning me not to give him anything. I swallowed. "I am with Sela. She came to check on me." Another pause, longer this time. I heard his breathing like he was calculating. "Sela," he repeated, and the way he said my daughter's name made my skin crawl. "Why is she with you?" "Because she is my daughter," I whispered, and my voice cracked in a way that was not acting. "And because I needed her." "Mom," he said gently, "you know Sela gets worked up. She worries too much. She can make you anxious. That makes your stomach worse. Let me talk to her." "No," I said quickly. His tone sharpened just a hair. "What do you mean no?" Detective Walsh mouthed. "Keep him talking." I forced myself to sound weak, confused. I want to rest. I am tired." Rhodes exhaled slowly, like he was trying to stay calm. "Are you at the hospital?" My pulse spiked. Why would he guess that? "No," I lied. "Not yet." He went quiet again. Then he asked, and his voice dropped into something intimate, almost pleading. "Mom, you are still wearing it, right?" The question landed like a stone in my stomach. I looked at Detective Walsh. She gave me the smallest nod, like she already knew this moment would come. I let my voice go soft. "Yes." Relief flooded him so fast it sounded like a sigh. Okay, good. Listen, I am coming over. I want to see you." Walsh reached toward the phone and I pulled it slightly away, still playing my part. "Rhodes," I said, "you do not need to. Sela is here." "Mom," he insisted, "I need to. Please. Just tell me where you are." I tightened my grip on the phone until my knuckles hurt. "I am at Sela's." His voice went flat. "That is not true. Sela lives across town. You are not driving across town like this." My mouth went dry. I did not answer quickly enough. He pressed harder. "Where are you, Mom? Tell me." I felt my body starting to shake again, real panic rising. Detective Walsh leaned close and spoke quietly, just loud enough for me to hear. "Say you are headed to the hospital now. Let him react." I swallowed. "Fine. Sela is taking me to the hospital." Rhodes inhaled sharply. "Which one?" I hesitated. His voice snapped. "Which hospital, Mom?" Detective Walsh lifted a finger, telling me to stop. She reached for the phone gently. I handed it over like I was handing her a weapon. Walsh spoke into the receiver, voice calm and official. "Rhodes Mercer." Silence on the other end. Then a nervous laugh. "Who is this?" "Detective Walsh." "Savannah Police. Your mother is safe. Do not come looking for her. We will contact you." The line went dead. Sela's hand flew to her mouth. I stared at the phone like I had just watched a door slam shut on the last version of my son that I wanted to believe in. Walsh looked at me. "That reaction tells me a lot," she said. "He is not asking why the police are with you. He is not asking if you are okay. He is trying to locate you." My throat tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I felt Sela's arm slide around my shoulders, holding me upright. We went to the hospital under police escort. The bright lights in the emergency intake made me squint, and the smell of disinfectant turned my stomach. A nurse took one look at my weight and the thinning patches of my hair and brought a wheelchair without asking. As they rolled me back, I heard Sela arguing quietly with the triage clerk, her voice shaking with rage and fear. I heard Detective Walsh giving instructions, steady and precise. The world felt both too fast and too slow. They drew blood, they took a hair sample. They asked me questions I could barely answer without crying. How long? How often? Any occupational exposure, any hobbies, any cleaning agents, any medications, any supplements. I kept thinking about the watch pressed against my wrist all those months, warmed by my skin, and I felt bile rise. Later, a doctor with tired eyes sat beside my bed and said, "We are going to run a full toxicology screen. There are compounds that do not show up on routine panels. If you have been exposed slowly, We should see markers in your hair and blood. I turned my face toward the wall and cried without sound. Seela held my hand so tightly I could feel her pulse through my fingers. 2 hours after midnight, Detective Walsh returned with a small evidence case. Everett had delivered a written statement and photos of the watch casing. The lab had already begun analysis. Walsh stood at the foot of my bed. "Ma'am, I need to ask about financial documents. Has your son ever helped you with insurance paperwork?" I stared at her. "Rhodes has offered. I always said no. Has anyone else had access? Any shared computer passwords? Any mail that went missing?" A memory surfaced that made my skin go cold. 2 months before my birthday, Rhodes had come over while I was in the shower. I had asked him to bring in the mail from the box downstairs. Later, I could not find my annual insurance statement. I assumed I had misplaced it. I whispered. He had time alone in my apartment. Seela's face went pale beside me. "Mom," she said softly, "you told me that. I told you it was weird." I squeezed my eyes shut. "I know." Detective Walsh nodded, like she was adding another brick to a wall. "We will get a warrant for his devices," she said. "We will also request your insurance history and beneficiary changes." The word beneficiary made my stomach lurch harder than any nausea. By morning, I was exhausted in a way that felt deeper than sickness. It felt like my heart had been running from something for months, and now it had nowhere left to go. I dozed off for an hour, and when I woke, Seela was sitting rigid in the chair beside my bed. Detective Walsh stood near the door. A uniformed officer was outside the room. Seela met my eyes, and I knew immediately something had happened. "Mom," she said quietly, "they found it." "Found what?" I whispered. Walsh stepped forward. 8 months ago, your life insurance payout was increased and the beneficiary split was changed. The paperwork contains your signature, but the insurance company flagged the digital submission as coming from a different device than your usual one. My mouth went dry. What was it changed to? Walsh did not soften the truth. Your son was listed as primary beneficiary for the full amount. Seela let out a broken sound, half laugh, half sob. He tried to take everything. I stared at the ceiling tiles and something inside me went numb. It was not shock anymore. It was clarity. This was not a misunderstanding. It was not stress. It was not grief. It was intent. Walsh continued, voice measured. The lab also confirmed the capsule contained a toxic compound consistent with heavy metal exposure. The release mechanism matches Everett's description. We have enough to arrest your son on multiple charges. I heard the words, but the only thing I could see was Rhodes's face the night of my birthday, his lips brushing my cheek as he whispered, "Please promise." I turned my head and looked at Seela. My voice came out small. "I am sorry I doubted you." Seela's eyes filled. "I am sorry I did not drag that thing off your wrist myself." Detective Walsh's phone buzzed. She listened, then nodded once. "He is on his way to the hospital," she said. My heart lurched. "He knows where I am." "He probably guessed," Walsh said. "Or he called around. Either way, we are ready." A wave of fear rolled through me. I pictured him walking into my hospital room, smiling, pretending to be the devoted son while my body tried to survive his plan. Seela leaned forward. "Let him come," she whispered. "Let him see you are still here." 20 minutes later, there was movement in the hallway. Voices, footsteps, the sound of my name. Then Rhodes stepped into my doorway. He looked perfect. Clean shirt, neat hair. That familiar, concerned expression he wore like a mask. The moment he saw me in the bed, he softened his face even more, like he was stepping into a role he had rehearsed. "Mom," he said, and his eyes flicked to my wrist automatically. I did not have the watch. My wrist was bare. For the first time in months, Rhodes's control slipped. His pupils dilated. His lips parted slightly. The mask cracked. "Where is it?" he asked too fast. Seela stood up. Her voice was steady in a way that made me proud. "Where is your concern, Rhodes? You should be asking if she is alive." Rhodes blinked, then forced a weak laugh. "What are you talking about? Of course I care. I came as soon as I heard." Detective Walsh stepped into view behind him. "Rhodes Mercer," she said, "you are under arrest." His face went blank for 1 second. Then anger flared, sharp and ugly. "For what?" Walsh's voice did not change. "Attempted poisoning. Forgery, fraud, elder exploitation." Rhodes's gaze snapped to me. "Mom," he said, and suddenly the sweetness was gone. "You did this. You let her poison you against me." I stared at him. The audacity of that sentence almost made me dizzy. Seela stepped closer. She did not touch him. She did not need to. "You gave her a weapon and told her to keep it on her skin," she said quietly. "You tracked her sickness like it was a project. You do not get to blame anyone else." Rhodes's jaw clenched. He looked at me again, and in his eyes I saw something I had never allowed myself to see. Not love, not remorse, just hunger. "You were supposed to trust me," he hissed. I swallowed. My voice came out calm, and that calm felt like a door closing. "I did trust you." Walsh cuffed him. As the metal clicked, Rhodes's face twisted into something desperate. "Mom," he said sharply, "you are making a mistake. You do not understand what I was dealing with." I met his eyes, then explain it. His mouth opened, but no excuse came out. Only fury, only panic, only the realization that his performance had ended. They let him away. When the door shut, the room went silent except for the hum of hospital machines. Selah sank into the chair and covered her face. I felt my own tears come, slow and heavy, but they were different from the ones I had cried before. These were grief, yes, but also relief. The nightmare had a shape now. It had evidence. It had handcuffs. The months after that were hard, but they were real. Treatments, nutrition shakes, medication to help my body clear what it had absorbed. My hair grew back in soft, stubborn tufts that made Selah laugh and cry at the same time. The court case moved quickly because the evidence was clean. The modified casing, the toxicology results, the forged paperwork, the text messages on Rhodes's phone that showed he had been drowning in debt, begging lenders for time, talking about my policy like it was a lifeboat. In the courtroom, he did not look at me once. I thought that would break me. Instead, it healed something. Because if he could not look at me, then maybe he was finally seeing what he had done, even if he would never admit it. The judge sentenced him to prison. Not long enough to give me back what he stole, but long enough that I could sleep without fear. Everett testified too. He sat beside Selah afterward and said, "I am sorry I had to meet you like this." Selah squeezed his hand and said, "Thank you for noticing what the doctors did not." A year later, I returned to the library. I could not lift heavy stacks yet, so I started in the children's section, reading quietly to little kids who leaned into Storytime like the world was safe. Selah comes over twice a week for dinner. We eat slowly, we talk, we laugh in the spaces that used to be hollow. Sometimes I still wake up nauseous, only to realize it is a memory, not a symptom. I put my hand on my bare wrist and breathe until it passes. I used to think the most painful part would be losing my son, but the truth is, the most painful part was realizing I had almost lost my life because I wanted so badly to believe he loved me. Now I believe what is real. A daughter who refused to be silenced, a stranger who cared enough to speak up, a body that fought its way back, and a future that belongs to me again.